Start with triangle ABC with A at the location -4, 1. So I'll go ahead and plot A is at -4, 1. So here's A. B is at -8, 1. And C is at -3. X is -3, Y is +4. So this is point C. So you can see here I've got points A, B, and C. And I'll go ahead and sketch it because it is a triangle. And I'm asked to do a couple, I think just two translations of this. The first thing I'm asked to do is to reflect this triangle across the x-axis. So if this is the x-axis, I'm going to reflect this across x. So it's going to go down this way. So when I do a reflection across x, the x values are the same, but it ends up the y's become the opposite. So this triangle, if I'm reflecting across the x-axis, is going to become this point. So this is my B prime, and you'll notice the coordinates of that point are x is -8 and y is at -1. This is going to be A prime, and you'll notice the coordinates of that, x is at -4 still, and B is, instead of +1, B is now, I'm sorry, Y is now -1. So again, I see this Y is becoming the opposite of what it was. And then the last point is C, which should be at -3 for X and then -4 for Y. So this point right here would be my C prime. X is -3 and Y is at -4. So I'm going to go ahead and make these blue, and then let me go ahead and sketch this triangle. So this is the triangle that I get after reflecting across the x-axis. And of course, if I was to reflect this across the y-axis, right, it would have gone this way. And when you reflect across the y-axis, your y-coordinates stay the same, but your x's become the opposite of what they were. Now this second part, part B, it tells me that I'm supposed to start with the triangle that I just created. So I'm starting with A prime, B prime, C prime. So because I'm starting with that, it's kind of difficult because I have to make sure that I get the correct one to start with. Now, here's the problem. I don't like the translation rule that I see here, because if you look at it, it says that I'm supposed to take my x values, decrease them by 2, and decrease my y values by 5. And I can tell right now I'm going to run out of room if I do that. So let's look at where they should go. So if for A, for example, I'm going to go back two units this way, and then I have to go down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is now the new A, and this would be my A double prime. If I do the same thing for B, I'm starting here, and I'm going to go back 2 and then down 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this point right here is now my B double prime. And the final one says that I have to do this for C, and I can see that's going to go off the graph. So if I take this point, I'm going to go back 2, and then I have to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's going to be somewhere down in here on this paper. So not very good planning on my part that I didn't notice that we would run out of room there. But it is a nice chance to look at these translations and how translations work. So a translation is basically saying you just take the xy that you have, take the x value and decrease it by 2 in this case, and then you take the y value and you decrease it by 5. And you can see that's what I've done. My b had a negative 8x, now it's at negative 10, so I decreased x by 2. My y value was at negative 1, and I decreased that by 5, and you can see now my y value here is at negative 6. So that's how this translation works. I apologize that I gave you one where I pushed it off the graph. But this is where they should go. And then to answer these questions, right, the thing you're asked for is to track some of the points. So the coordinates, you can see they're on the diagram here, but if I go ahead and list them, it looks like A should be at negative 4, negative 1, B prime should be at negative 8, negative 1, C prime goes to negative 3, negative 4, and the final one there, I'm asking you what C is, the one that's actually off the grid. So if I look at what C prime was, it was at negative 3 comma negative 4. This is C prime. And in order to get to C double prime, again, I'm subtracting 2 from the x. So this is going to go to negative 5 for the x value. And then I'm going to subtract 5 from the y. So I'm at negative 4, so this is going to go to negative 9. So if I count that, I should be at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, should be at 9. So this is at negative 5 comma negative 9.